Okay, so there are lots of videos about how autistic people find Christmas challenging. And to be fair, last Christmas I did a video about some of the challenges I have with Christmas. But this time I want to flip the script and have a look at some of the things that autistic people might find good about Christmas. So let's go. Hi, I'm Phil, a very late diagnosed autistic ADHD adult, and it's my aim to share positive information about autism and share my experiences along the way. Well, Christmas is fast approaching, and I always have mixed thoughts about Christmas because as an autistic person, I do find many aspects of Christmas challenging. But despite this, I think overall my relationship with Christmas is positive. So let's have a chat about some of those things, but let's also acknowledge the challenges common to autistic people along the way. As autistic people, we may be more susceptible to fatigue, which can easily lead to burnout. Now, Christmas in itself can be a busy time leading to more fatigue. You may even hear in my voice the fatigue of the season creeping in, making me a bit croaky. But after the festivities are over, it can also be a time of rest and reset. When I was working, I always found this to be the case for me around year's end. Family for me is one of the reasons I do like Christmas. I have an extremely close relationship with all of my immediate and extended family members, and all these wonderful people are safe for me. So spending time with them at Christmas is always both a priority and something that I value highly from my autistic perspective. Many autistic people may not have wide social networks, so spending time with the people closest to us, if they are safe, may be a real positive. Now, at this point, I must also acknowledge that not all autistic people will have the same positive experience of family. So in that case, Christmas might be more challenging. And we might love our family, but still find being around them exhausting. But for me, family is a true Christmas delight. For some autistic people, Christmas may indeed be a special interest. This was my experience as a child, and I actually kept a mini Christmas tree in my room all year round as a reminder. And of course, many, if not most children will be focused on Christmas, so that in itself is not unusual. But for other autistic children, there may be specific aspects of Christmas that may be of particular interest, which is fine also. For some autistic people, finding just the right gift for each person in their lives might also be a special interest. This is an interesting one from an autistic perspective because one lesser known autistic trait is called pebbling. The word pebbling comes from the actions of penguins in the Antarctic who find nice stones and gift them to other penguins for nest building as a mating ritual and as a sign that they will return when about to enter the ocean. From an autistic perspective, this giving something of value to someone we care about is a nice trait. One thing about Christmas is that it can be a very sensory heavy time of year. There is no doubt that this can lead to sensory overwhelm, but on the flip side can also be a positive sensory seeking time as well. One of the ways that I've found this sensory positive is if the shops are open in the few days before Christmas overnight, which has happened here on occasions in the past. I've sometimes done Christmas shopping in these late night hours where the shops are relatively quiet. But maybe the bigger difference is that while there are still plenty of people around, maybe the crazy overwhelming rush of the daytime shoppers is replaced by a calmer version. And maybe more people are there for the experience of doing that shopping at that unusual time than because of the pressure to get the list done. So the whole vibe can be a bit more relaxed. Also for my ADHD, this novelty of shopping in the middle of the night is a positive. And even if I don't buy anything, I can absorb the Christmas atmosphere and visual stimulation of the decorations without also being overstimulated. Shopping aside, there are many aspects of Christmas that may also be sensory pluses. The visual stimulation of the decorations, and in particular Christmas lights, can be visually stimulating. Seeing the Christmas lights adorning houses and going out looking at tasteful lighting displays has always been something I've enjoyed. And of course, Christmas has different meaning to different people. As someone who grew up in a church environment, I developed a personal faith. So for me, the reflection on that faith and birth of Christ is something that I personally hold dear. In autistic terms, this faith is akin to a special interest. So taking some time at Christmas to reflect on that special interest is something that brings me peace and joy as an autistic person. For other autistic people of faith, Christmas will have its own meaning and likewise an opportunity to focus on that. I also have memories as a child sitting on the floor singing carols in our little church late at night, lit just by candles. The gentleness of this experience has stayed with me and conjures the sound of the carol Silent Night in my inner ear. Likewise, at the other end of the carol spectrum, in my professional capacity, doing live sound production and personally crafting the sonic landscape of very large outdoor Christmas carols events, hearing the music produced by the incredible team of musicians travel across that open space, then reverberate back from the mountains surrounding the deep valley, and seeing the thousands of people around me totally absorbed in that event is both a sensory, emotional and spiritually uplifting moment in time for me. Another aspect of Christmas that may be both positive and challenging for autistic people is the fact that it also brings the year to a close. For some, this may present challenges, as the year ending can often mean changes just around the corner with the start of the new year. And these thoughts of change may pose significant anxiety for many autistic people. But as a contrast to this, many autistic people are not in employment, so Christmas may serve as a break in an otherwise potentially monotonous calendar, giving opportunity for change, focus or reset. Let's also acknowledge that Christmas may be a difficult time for many autistic people. Shopping can be particularly challenging for autistic people. The expectation of buying gifts for loved ones can be extremely overwhelming, both in trying to find the right gift, but also then having to go to the shops at this ultra busy time. As an autistic ADHD person, I also find that decision anxiety in buying gifts completely overwhelming. This will often mean that I'm shopping right up until closing time on Christmas Eve if I'm needing to buy presents. Maybe this is my ADHD dominating here, as it takes the deadline of the shops closing and associated adrenaline boost to get the job done. Another challenge many autistic people face is loneliness. As we may have smaller social networks than non-autistic people, we may also find at this time of year that we have less people to share Christmas with. This can also mean spending Christmas alone for some. Disruption to our usual routines is another key factor for autistic people. Either the routines get shelved or the overwhelm of everything else might mean we are unable to continue them in our usual way. And on the subject of overwhelm, all the festivities of visual overstimulation of lights and decorations, or the auditory overstimulation of a constant barrage of Christmas music may leave you drained. And not to mention the pressure to be festive and mask when maybe you are overstimulated and dysregulated. I think the main point I want to make here is that Christmas is what you make it. So if you have a neurodivergent family, you may have the opportunity to make the best version of Christmas that has all the excitement and anticipation, but also takes care of the sensory needs and is aware of the overwhelm pitfalls. Likewise, if you have a neurodiverse family, by that I mean a family who has both neurodivergent and neurotypical family members, then you can still make it work for everyone, but there will obviously be some compromises. But that does not mean anyone has to miss out on what works for them. But it may mean everyone needs to understand each other's needs and differences. I guess that is a whole other topic in itself. And this could be an opportunity to form closer bonds through understanding and empathy. But I'm not a parent, so the last thing I'm going to do here is give parenting advice for how to do that with children. But there are some good resources online. And I'll leave a few links in the description and let them speak for themselves. In my family, we're mostly adults and, dare I say, most likely neurodivergent adults. One accommodation that we have naturally adopted as we have aged together is that we don't generally buy much in the way of presents for each other by mutual agreement. I think this has taken a load off all of us in negotiating that very stressful aspect of Christmas. This also frees up our mental space to focus on what's more important. So let's face it, Christmas is not supposed to be about presents, greed, consumerism or company profits. But that might be a discussion for another time also. One final point to make here is that Christmas often comes with expectations. And again, those expectations will be different based on neurotype, family dynamics, religious background, culture, and prior experience. Understanding the expectations of the people around us may go a long way to making the day and even the season be more enjoyable. It may even be that the expectations we place on ourselves are not aligned with what others expect of us. Again, I go back to the giving of presents. There is an expectation in our modern consumer world that is what you have to do. If that is stressful for you, either in the giving or the receiving, then have that conversation with the people around you and give yourself permission to not give or expect presents. It can actually be quite freeing, and the people around you might just feel the same way, especially if you have a neurodivergent family. Now, obviously, children will most likely look forward to presents, so it might just be an agreement between adults to back off on those demands between each other. Again, work out what works for you in the context of your family. So if pebbling and giving gifts is your thing, then go for it. I know I certainly enjoy Christmas more without those unnecessary expectations. Okay, so that's about it for my little Christmas ramble, and that might also be it for 2025. I want to thank you all for being part of my channel this year, and for all the comments, insights, and the support you have given me. I will most likely take a few weeks off to spend time with Trish and maybe do a little sailing down at the Gippsland Lakes. So as you move through the rest of the Christmas season and beyond, I wish you all a safe, happy, and peaceful Christmas. And if you are able to have a break or holiday over the coming weeks, I hope that time is enjoyable and refreshing. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Happy Christmas.